Hello everyone and peace be upon you. This short video is for teachers and I am going to share some of the several classroom assessment techniques, and I am sure that these techniques will be helpful to engage students in a meaningful learning in the classroom. The source of these techniques is given here as you see. It is a book chapter summary of 50 course evaluation methods. In 2005, John Helgasson from Department of Contemporary Literature, Lund University, Sweden, he compiled a summarized list of all these assessment techniques from this book chapter. In this very short presentation, I am just going to pick and choose some of the assessments, and of course, being an innovative teacher, you can add more into it. I am just providing a guideline and few meaningful clusters of these assessments in next slides. Well, first category or first section is about background knowledge. You know that we are very much interested in students' previous knowledge. So background knowledge probe is an assessment technique in which we try to find out previous knowledge and understanding related to the classroom, related to the lesson or topic or the course. It may have different formats. For example, one of the format is a questionnaire. Student can respond into a questionnaire, short answers, a checklist, a multiple choice questionnaire. And from these questionnaires, we can come to know about what all they already knew about it. Then we can ask them to write something about 1.5 pages or 2 pages in which they can tell us about what previous knowledge they have about that topic or overall the course. Another option may be the focus list. Focus list is the process in which students create a list of terms or concepts that they already know about the topic. So important thing is that we as a teacher may come to know about their previous knowledge and previous skills that they already acquired according to the lesson that they are going to learn. For questionnaires, it is recommended that we will use online forms because then it is easy for us to organize and analyze the student responses, and then it can be quite helpful. A second assessment technique that I am going to discuss is minute paper. Minute paper is a way to help students to follow up their learning after the lecture. For example, we can use an open-ended questionnaire in which student may be asked, what was the most important thing you learned today? And what important questions remain unanswered? Besides these two open-ended questions, we may take them to the muddiest points and then add some more questions like what was the most difficult thing to understand in the lecture or in the course content, or why the concept, and we can name some concept here, was relevant to the topic, etc. So you can add some questions in this minute paper, and when student will respond these questions, a teacher can easily understand it would work kind of a self-assessment of our lecture, that how much students have learned and where they were facing difficulties. Then the categorizing grid. The objective of categorizing grid is to help students to present their learning in an organized way. So it may include the formats, for example, sorting a list into relevant categories, creating cluster of these elements that the student will add in the categories. Another format would be defining feature matrix. It means that categorize concepts according to their defining feature. So student will categorize different concepts, but according to the given defining characteristics. And then another grid may be the pros and cons grid, advantages and disadvantages grid, in which students categorize or cluster the concepts with reference to their advantages, their pros, or their disadvantages or cons in certain domain or context. The idea here is to help students use their recognition skills with the help of their learning. And of course, teacher can add more grades, for example, a timeline grade or several other grades. So as I already said, it is all about the innovative commitment of the teachers that how they try to assess the students. Then we have another category that is called concept mapping, and its objective is to help students to draw and connect their conceptual learning. And we all know as teachers that conceptual learning is very important to lead the understanding level. Its format may be, for example, words journal, in which students summarize a concept or describe the concept and they write a journal. And then the concept map or concept mapping, in which students draw connections between different concepts and they also try to find relationships. And of course, when they are drawing connections between two or more concepts, they are also describing it, that how they find it connected. Then another format might be approximate analogies. And approximate analogies means that to complete an analogy, for example, providing a logical connection mainly through interpretations. That is, what is A for B and what would be B for C. So it is a kind of logical connection, but it does not need to be very concrete or very objective. So we will try to encourage students' interpretive skills, how they interpret those connections. So idea here is to help students use their conceptual learning, and of course more assessment may be used. For example, conception or misconception dialogue. Students may have a dialogue among themselves about the concept and then the misconcept. It will help them to draw their conceptual learning out. Then we have a problem solving assessment techniques, a very important technique, and it is actually used to trigger the problem focused thinking and problem focused learning of the students. Its formats may include problem recognition task, in which recognizing and identifying the particular type of problem from the given examples or scenarios. So what you do as a teacher, that you provide them examples and scenarios and even the case studies, and then students try to recognize and identify the particular types of problem in it. Another option may be inventing dialogues or invented dialogues. Invented dialogues is a kind of a real or fictitious problem that students discuss among themselves. So it might be a group activity in which a problem may be fictitious but close to a real problem. Another format is documented problem solution, and that is very much connected to how they identify a problem and then they write the steps to solve these problems. So this is also helpful for them to trigger their procedural learning or process based learning, in which they try to solve a problem. And then what is the principle? It is also an assessment technique in which students themselves determine and explain the principles to the solution. They have identified the problem, they have provided a series of steps to solve the problem, but then again corresponding to each step they must have a principle that how it should be solved. So idea here is to help students use their problem recognition and solving skills, and then teacher may use more assessment techniques including videos to present problems, and then students may be engaged in. Now we have application and performance assessment technique, and its objective is to assess students' application and performance level learning. Its formats include application cards. Students may prepare application cards in which they will write about what they have learned and how this learning may be applied in real life situations. So in one card, student is focusing on one type of learning and one real life situation that is connected together. So in a class, you may have several application cards that may be shared among the students, and they can comment on it, or they can propose another situation or propose another solution for the same learning. Second format may be the students generated questions. Yes, it is a good practice. The students should write their exam questions, and it is very interesting drill when you ask students to write your exam questions yourself. Make objective type questions, write essay type questions, and then answer those questions. And you may swap these questions among the students. For example, one group of students may prepare an exam paper and another group of students may solve that exam paper. So this is a good technique in which students try to apply their learning and performance in this format. Another format is more related to performative arts, and it is human tableau or class modeling, in which physical presentation is important, and students present their learning in the form of paintings, scripts, exhibitions, dramas, or any other art related performance related presentation. So this is also an interesting, and it is also interesting because it can engage students in a funny way, in a fun way. Then we have a paper or project prospectus. So in most of the courses, teachers tend to provide them guidelines to write a complete project, and of course a complete project is actually something that reflects their comprehensive learning during the course, but usually it is given at the end of the course. In application and performance assessment techniques, the focus is to put students to perform and present their application level of learning with reference to real life situations. And last but not least, feedback and reaction. It is very important for the teacher, and it is also included in the learning process, that the teacher must emphasize and focus on the feedback and reactions of the students. So primary objective is to use feedback and reaction of the students for the content and learning assessments. It may include several formats, and usually it is done either at the end of the course or in the midway of the course, or maybe you can do it after each lecture. It depends on how you design it. Its format might be the electronic mail feedback. It must be anonymized, and student will just write you an open email or preferably use online forms to send this email because then it is easy for students to be anonymized. Then second format might be teacher design feedback, and it is very popular. We have a structured feedback form designed by the teacher with closed and open-ended questions, and I recommend that the course feedback should be designed by the teacher, and it should be in line with the course outline provided to the students and the course objectives. So this structured feedback form, of course, student must fill it anonymously. It is quite helpful for the teacher to prepare for his next class and for his next course. Then we have a group instructional feedback technique in which students provide feedback in groups. In groups, students actually try to talk to each other and have a debate among themselves about certain learning, and they can reflect their feedback in the form of a paragraph or a paper or something in the written format. But it is preferably recommended that an other third person, for example course coordinator or another course teacher, will comment on this group feedbacks. Then it can be conveyed to the teacher, and he or she can learn what students have, what is the student's perception about this course and this lecture. And another format might be classroom assessment quality, in which we have a group of students who represent all the class, but they are in regular contact with the teacher, and after each class or after each lecture, they meet the teacher and they try to convey the overall perceptions of the students about the learning process and learning activities and whatever the difficulties students have faced during the class to the teacher. So these are some of the categories that I have chosen from those several activities, assessment techniques, and I think that if a teacher will use this assessment mosaic, problem solving assessment, background knowledge assessment, minute papers, concept mapping, categorizing grids and application and performance level, and then feedback and reaction assessment. So this assessment mosaic would be very helpful for the teacher to maintain a kind of comprehensive learning environment in the classroom. And of course, during the course, if it is being practiced regularly, teacher will get help whenever he or she will be going to teach this course next time. Thank you for now. I hope this very short presentation will be very helpful for the teachers. Thank you.